The Outsiders. The vastness of space stretched before Commander Ilara Wright as she maneuvered her experimental craft through the debris field at the edge of the hegemony's territorial boundary. The ship, barely large enough for her 5-person crew, responded to her touch with an agility that still surprised her after 6 months of testing. Project Firefly, they called it, humanity's secret attempt to leapfrog centuries of technological stagnation enforced by the ancient species that ruled the galaxy. Status report. Ilara called out, her eyes never leaving the holographic display where thousands of rock fragments were mapped in glowing blue outlines. All systems nominal, replied Dr. Sanjay Mehta, the quantum physicist whose theories had made Firefly possible. Gravitic distortion field holding at 97% efficiency, better than expected. Ilara allowed herself a small smile. For a species that had only achieved faster than light travel barely 70 years ago, humanity was punching far above its weight. The galactic hegemony, dominated by the Xandurians who had ruled for over 20,000 years, had reluctantly allowed Earth to join their interstellar community, but only as a protectorate with severe technological restrictions. Approaching the Kessel boundary, announced Lieutenant Thomas Rice from the navigation console. Hegemony patrol vessel detected at coordinates 42 to 8703, maintaining standard surveillance pattern. They're watching us again, muttered Chief Engineer Valentina Orlova, her Russian accent thickening with her irritation. Those smug tentacle faces think we're just playing with toys. Ilara kept her expression neutral, though she shared Valentina's frustration. That works in our favor. As long as they believe we're testing conventional drives within our allowed parameters, they won't look too closely. The truth was far more revolutionary. Beneath the vessel's unremarkable exterior lay an innovation that the hegemony scientists had declared theoretically impossible. A quantum displacement drive that could fold space-time without the massive energy requirements of traditional warp technology. We're being hailed, reported communications specialist Zora Chen, the newest member of their team. It's the Dandurian vessel. Ilara straightened her uniform. On screen, the holographic display shifted to show the aristocratic features of an Xandurian officer. Their iridescent skin shimmered with patterns that indicated both rank and emotional state, currently showing mild amusement and condescension. Human vessel. The alien spoke, translator converting their harmonic language into standard English. You are approaching restricted space. State your purpose. Greetings, Overseer. Ilara replied with practiced deference. Commander Wright of Earth Exploratory Vessel Firefly. We're conducting approved propulsion tests within our designated zone. Our authorization code is Theta 927 Epsilon. The Xandurian skin patterns shifted slightly. Verification confirmed. Continue your experiments. A pause. Though I wonder why your kind persist with these primitive attempts when superior technologies are already perfected. Ilara managed a humble nod. We have much to learn from the hegemony's wisdom. After the transmission ended, the crew exchanged looks. Superior technologies. Valentina spat. Technologies they haven't improved in 5,000 years because they believe perfection has been achieved. Their complacency is our opportunity, Sanjay reminded them, his fingers dancing across his console. And today, we prove just how wrong they are. Ilara turned to her crew. Is the test package ready? Lieutenant Reyes nodded. Drone deployed and transmitting. It's positioned at the designated coordinates, 1 light-year from our position. This was the moment they had been working toward in secret for 3 years. If successful, they would demonstrate that humanity's approach to physics, considered primitive and misguided by the hegemony scholars, could achieve what the ancient races claimed was impossible. Begin final preparations for quantum displacement test, Ilara ordered, and make sure our telemetry is being properly masked from the patrol vessel. The crew worked with quiet efficiency, the product of countless drills and simulations. Despite the calm professionalism, Ilara could sense the tension beneath the surface. Every person aboard understood what was at stake. Dr. Mehta, you have the floor, Ilara said, yielding to the scientist. Sanjay took a deep breath. The principle is elegantly simple, though the execution is complex. Instead of brute forcing our way through space-time with enormous energy expenditure like conventional warp drives, we're exploiting quantum entanglement on a macroscopic scale. His hands moved through the holographic display, illustrating the concept. We've created a quantum link between our vessel and the target coordinates. By manipulating the quantum state here, we induce a corresponding change there, essentially creating a shortcut through the higher dimensions. In theory, Valentina added. In theory, Sanjay agreed with a wry smile. But today, we make theory into reality. Ilara returned to the command seat. Begin power-up sequence. Activate quantum entanglement matrix. The ship hummed as systems engaged, the pitch gradually rising as power flowed into technologies that no other species had thought to combine in this way. Humans might be newcomers to the galactic stage, but their history of having to innovate with limited resources made them approach problems from angles the older races never considered. Quantum matrix stabilized, reported Valentina. Field coherence at optimal levels. Target locked, added Reyes. Displacement coordinates verified. Ilara took a moment to appreciate the significance of what they were attempting. If successful, this test would shatter thousands of years of established physics paradigms in the hegemony. It would also likely bring unwelcome attention to humanity's technological development. Record for the log, she said formally. Project Firefly Test 1 commencing at 9:45 hours Earth Standard Time. Attempting quantum displacement jump of 1 light-year distance. She looked at each crew member in turn, receiving a nod from each. Initiate displacement in 3, 2, 1. Sanjay pressed his palm onto the activation plate. For a heartbeat, nothing seemed to happen. Then reality shifted. There was no dramatic flash of light, no violent acceleration. Instead, the stars outside simply rearranged themselves in an instant. Where moments before they had been looking at the debris field and the distant Xandurian patrol ship, now an entirely different section of space filled their viewports. Position verification, Ilara demanded, fighting to keep the excitement from her voice. Reyes worked his controls frantically. Stellar cartography confirms. Commander, we're exactly at the target coordinates. 1 light-year displacement in 0 measurable time. The bridge erupted in cheers and embraces. Ilara allowed herself to join in briefly before restoring order. Drone telemetry, she asked. Zora was beaming. The drone confirms our arrival. From its perspective, we simply vanished from our previous position and instantaneously appeared here. No energy signature, no distortion wake, nothing the hegemony sensors are designed to detect. We did it, Sanjay whispered, staring at his hands as if they belonged to someone else. We actually did it. Not just a short jump, Valentina added, studying the engineering data. The power consumption was minimal, less than 5% of what a conventional warp drive would use for the same distance. Ilara nodded, her mind already racing ahead to the implications. This changes everything. The range limitations, the fuel constraints, the detectability issues, all solved in one breakthrough. The hegemony won't be pleased, Reyes noted soberly. They've controlled FTL technology for millennia. It's the foundation of their power, which is precisely why we need to develop this further before they realize what we've achieved. Ilara replied. Prepare for return jump. Let's see if we can repeat the miracle. As the crew returned to their stations, Ilara gazed out at the stars. Humanity had been treated as children by the ancient races, patronized and restricted for their own good. That was about to change. The return jump was equally successful, bringing them back to their starting position with no apparent passage of time. Their absence had been brief enough that the patrolling Xandurian vessel noticed nothing unusual, exactly as planned. What they hadn't planned for was the anomaly detection alert from the hegemony's central monitoring station 3 days later. Ilara was summoned to the human embassy on Nexus Station, the massive construct that served as the administrative heart of the hegemony in this sector. Ambassador Caroline Blake, a career diplomat who had spent 15 years navigating the treacherous waters of interspecies politics, looked grave. "They know something happened, Ilara," she said without preamble once they were alone in her secure office. "The Xandurians have called an emergency session of the Technology Oversight Council. They're demanding a complete audit of all human research projects." Ilara's heart sank. "How? We were careful to mask all signatures." "That's just it. They detected an absence of signatures where there should have been something. A vessel your size should have left some kind of energy trail, however faint. The complete lack of any trace triggered their anomaly detection algorithms, so they don't know what we did, just that we did something unusual." The ambassador nodded slowly. "For now. But they're bringing in their best scientists. It's only a matter of time before they figure it out." Ilara considered their options. "Then we need to accelerate our timeline. Project Firefly was meant to have another 6 months of testing before demonstration." "Demonstration?" Caroline looked alarmed. "You can't be serious." "The Xandurians will see it as a direct challenge to their technological supremacy. They could revoke our protectorate status. Or," Ilara countered, "they could be forced to recognize humanity as equals for the first time. Ambassador, we've played by their rules for 70 years. We've accepted their restrictions and their condescension. And all it's gotten us is a tightening of those same restrictions whenever we show the slightest sign of advancement." She leaned forward, her voice intense. "The quantum displacement drive isn't just an incremental improvement. It's a paradigm shift. It proves that their entire approach to physics has blind spots that we can see past." Caroline sighed, the weight of her responsibility evident. "The High Council will need to be consulted. This could trigger a diplomatic crisis unlike anything we faced. It could also be our only chance to break free from the constraints they've placed on us." Ilara argued. "Imagine human ships that can travel anywhere in the galaxy without the enormous power requirements of conventional drives. Imagine what that would mean for our colonies, our trade, our independence." The ambassador was silent for a long moment. "I'll make the case to the council," she finally said. "But be prepared for either outcome, Commander. This could elevate humanity's status in the galaxy, or it could make us a target." As Ilara left the embassy, her communicator chimed with a message from Sanjay. "Breakthrough on Phase 2. Need to see you immediately." The scientist met her at a discreet cafe in the human sector of Nexus Station, his eyes bright with excitement despite his attempt to appear casual. "We've solved the scaling problem," he whispered once they were seated in a private booth with anti-surveillance measures active. "The quantum entanglement effect isn't limited by mass, as we initially thought. Valentina found a way to extend the field coherence exponentially with only a linear increase in power requirements." Ilara stared at him. "Are you saying what I think you're saying?" Sanjay nodded, a grin breaking through his composed facade. "With the modifications we've developed, we could apply the displacement drive to vessels of any size, from shuttles to colony ships." The implications were staggering. The hegemony maintained control partly through restricting the size and power of drives that younger species were allowed to develop. A technology that bypassed those limitations entirely would upend the balance of power throughout known space. "The Xandurians are already suspicious," Ilara told him. "We need to move fast. How soon can we install the upgrades on Firefly?" 3 days, if we work around the clock." Ilara made her decision. "Do it. And prepare for a more public demonstration than we originally planned." Paradigm shift. Grand Overseer Xel Thereth of the Xandurian hegemony gazed out from the observation deck of the Celestial Authority, the most advanced battle cruiser in the galaxy. For over 20,000 years, his species had maintained technological superiority over all others, guiding the development of younger races with wisdom accumulated across eons. Now that carefully managed order faced an unprecedented challenge. "The data is conclusive, Exalted One," reported Science Director Vex Moran. the patterns on his skin displaying concern and confusion in equal measure. The human vessel disappeared from our sensors completely, then reappeared at a distance of 1 light-year without any detectable transition event. Impossible, declared Fleet Commander Zorvakar, the military leader whose skin displayed patterns of dismissal and contempt. Their primitive understanding of physics cannot possibly allow for such advancement. The sensors must be malfunctioning. Zelthareth's skin rippled with thoughtful consideration. Unlike many of his peers, he had studied human history since their first tentative steps into space. While others saw only their technological backwardness, he had noted their remarkable adaptability and unconventional thinking. "Recall what the archives tell us of the progenitor's warning," he said softly. "They spoke of species who would approach the fundamental forces from unexpected angles, seeing patterns where we see only chaos." The mention of the progenitors, the mysterious race that had preceded even the Xandurians, silenced the chamber. Their few remaining teachings were treated with reverence bordering on religious awe. "Surely you don't suggest these humans are the foretold innovators?" Zorvakar's skin now displayed patterns of alarm. "They've barely mastered conventional warp technology, which makes their apparent achievement all the more significant." Zelthareth replied. "Summon the human representatives. I wish to speak with them directly." On board the Firefly, now docked at Nexus Station's research bay, Ilara and her crew worked feverishly to implement Sanjay's breakthrough. The quantum displacement drive had been completely reconfigured, its components rearranged in a configuration that would have baffled hegemony engineers with its seeming illogic. "The beauty of it," Sanjay explained as they made final adjustments, "is that it exploits principles that Xandurians consider too chaotic to be useful. Their mathematics treats quantum uncertainty as a limitation to be minimized. We're using it as the very foundation of our approach." Valentina emerged from an access tunnel, her face smeared with conductive gel. "Final power couplings are installed. The scaling matrix is online and stable." "Just in time," Zora called from the communication station. "We're receiving a priority summons from the Grand Overseer himself." Ilara felt a chill run down her spine. The Grand Overseer rarely dealt with species as young as humanity directly. This level of attention could only mean their secret was out. "Ambassador Blake is requesting immediate contact," Zara added. "She sounds worried." The ambassador's face appeared on screen moments later. "Commander Wright, the Celestial Authority has arrived at Nexus Station. The Grand Overseer has requested your presence and your vessel for a direct audience." "This is unprecedented," Thomas whispered. Caroline nodded grimly. "The Xandurians are in an uproar. Some factions are calling for the complete technological quarantine of humanity. Others are simply curious. Either way, they know something significant has happened." Ilara exchanged glances with her crew. They had expected to have more time, to approach the revelation of their breakthrough on their own terms. Now they would be performing on the hegemony stage. "Tell the Grand Overseer we would be honored by his audience," she replied formally. "Firefly will approach the Celestial Authority under standard diplomatic protocols." After the transmission ended, Sanjay voiced what they were all thinking. "They'll want to inspect our drive technology." "Let them try," Valentina said with grim satisfaction. "The physical configuration doesn't reveal the operating principles. Without understanding the theoretical framework, the hardware is meaningless." Ilara made her decision. "We proceed as planned, but accelerate the timeline. A demonstration will happen today, in the presence of the Grand Overseer himself." "That's incredibly risky," Thomas protested. "If anything goes wrong." "Nothing will go wrong," Ilara stated with more confidence than she felt. "Our technology works. It's time the hegemony acknowledged that humanity has something valuable to contribute." The journey to the Celestial Authority was tense. The massive Xandurian vessel dwarfed Firefly, its crystalline structure gleaming with internal lights that shifted in complex patterns. It represented the pinnacle of hegemony engineering, beautiful, powerful, and fundamentally unchanged for millennia. As they docked in the battlecruiser's cavernous bay, Ilara addressed her crew one final time. Whatever happens in there, remember this. What we've created doesn't just change how ships travel between stars. It changes the relationship between humanity and the galaxy. Today, we claim our place as equals. The reception chamber of the Celestial Authority was designed to overwhelm. Soaring ceilings supported by columns of living crystal, gravity fields that shifted subtly to remind visitors of their host's control over fundamental forces, and atmospheric compositions that changed from one moment to the next, all calculated to emphasize the Xandurians' mastery of their environment. Grand Overseer Sel-Therath waited on an elevated platform, surrounded by the highest-ranking members of the hegemony scientific and military establishment. His skin displayed a pattern that few humans had ever witnessed. Genuine curiosity. Commander Wright of Earth, his harmonic voice resonated through the chamber. You and your vessel have created quite a stir among my people. Ilara bowed respectfully but met his gaze directly. A subtle deviation from protocol that did not go unnoticed. Grand Overseer, we are honored by your attention. Let us dispense with diplomatic niceties, Sel-Therath said, surprising everyone present. Our sensors detected an anomaly 3 days ago. Your vessel disappeared and reappeared a light-year distant without using any known form of propulsion technology. Explain. Ilara took a deep breath. This was the moment that would define humanity's future in the galaxy. Exalted One, for 70 years, humans have studied the principles of physics as taught by the hegemony. We have learned much from your wisdom. She paused. But we have also approached these principles from our own unique perspective. Science Director Vex Moran moved forward, his skin displaying skepticism. Your species' understanding of quantum mechanics is rudimentary at best. What you describe is theoretically impossible. With respect, Sanjay stepped forward. Impossible only within the constraints of current hegemony theoretical models. Our approach exploits aspects of quantum entanglement that your mathematics treats as negligible. The chamber filled with the harmonic equivalent of murmurs as the Xandurians communicated among themselves. You claim to have developed a propulsion system based on principles our scientists have discarded as unworkable. Fleet Commander Zorvakar's skin displayed patterns of outright disbelief. We don't just claim it, Ilara replied evenly. We've demonstrated it. And with your permission, Grand Overseer, we would like to demonstrate it again, here and now. The proposal sent shockwaves through the assembled Xandurians. No species had ever dared to perform unauthorized technological demonstrations aboard the Celestial Authority. Sel-Therath's skin displayed a complex pattern that few present could interpret fully. After a long moment, he spoke. Proceed, Commander Wright. Show us this miracle of human ingenuity. Ilara nodded to Sanjay, who activated a small device he carried. A holographic display appeared in the center of the chamber, showing the position of both the Celestial Authority and a small probe that Firefly had deployed during their approach. The probe is currently 10 light minutes from our position, Ilara explained. Using conventional drives, reaching it would take significant time and energy, even for a vessel as advanced as the Celestial Authority. She gestured to Valentina, who operated another control. We have installed a scaled-down version of our quantum displacement drive on the probe. Observe. On the display, the probe suddenly vanished from its position. Simultaneously, a small alert sounded from a nearby Xandurian monitoring station. The probe has appeared directly alongside this vessel, reported a startled Xandurian technician. No transition signature detected. It simply arrived. Impossible, Vakar exclaimed. And yet, we all witnessed it, Sel-Therath observed, his skin now displaying patterns of profound interest. How does this technology function, Commander Wright? Ilara nodded to Sanjay, who stepped forward with another holographic display. In simplest terms, we create a quantum entanglement field that encompasses the vessel, then exploit higher-dimensional mathematics to collapse the distance between 2 points in space-time. The vessel doesn't move through space in the conventional sense. It simply exists at the destination rather than the origin. This defies all established principles of energy conservation. Vex Moran objected, though his skin now showed fascination rather than dismissal. Only if viewed through the lens of conventional physics, Sanjay countered. Our approach recognizes that space-time itself is a construct emerging from more fundamental quantum fields. As the scientists began a heated technical discussion, Grand Overseer Selthereth moved closer to Ilara. This technology, it changes everything, he said quietly. Yes, Ilara agreed. But change doesn't have to be threatening. Humanity doesn't seek to challenge the hegemony's authority. We seek partnership. Partnership. Selthereth's skin displayed surprise. Most younger species would use such an advantage to demand concessions. That's not our way, Ilara replied. Earth's history taught us that technological superiority without wisdom leads to destruction. We don't want to repeat the mistakes of our past, or to have the hegemony repeat them by trying to suppress this discovery. The Grand Overseer was silent for a long moment. The progenitors spoke of a time when the established order would be challenged not by force, but by innovation. They warned us to be ready for perspectives that would seem alien to our understanding. He turned to address the assembled dignitaries. For 20,000 years, the Gandarians have guided the technological development of the galaxy. We have seen ourselves as teachers and guardians, preserving the wisdom of ages. His skin shifted to a pattern rarely seen, one indicating profound realization. But perhaps we have become too comfortable in our certainty. Perhaps there are things we can learn from those we thought had only things to learn from us. The chamber erupted in harmonic disputes, with various factions arguing passionately. Through it all, Selthereth maintained a posture of thoughtful consideration. Finally, he raised his hands for silence. The humans will share the theoretical principles of their discovery with our scientists. In exchange, the restrictions on human technological development will be reconsidered. He fixed Ilara with a penetrating gaze. This is not merely about a new method of transportation, Commander Wright. This is about recognizing that different perspectives can lead to truths we have overlooked. It is about acknowledging that wisdom can come from unexpected sources. In the days that followed, news of the human breakthrough spread throughout the hegemony. Other species, long held in technological stasis by Xandurian restrictions, watched with growing hope and excitement. Delegations arrived at Nexus Station from across the galaxy, some seeking alliance with humanity, others demanding access to the new technology, still others warning of the dangers of uncontrolled advancement. Through it all, Ilara and her crew worked tirelessly, with a growing team of scientists from various species, sharing knowledge and building bridges across civilizations that had been kept separate for millennia. It's remarkable, Sanjay commented one evening as they watched representatives from a dozen species collaborating in Firefly's expanded laboratory. Some of these races have been bitter rivals for thousands of years. Now they're working together, building on each other's insights. That's the real breakthrough, Ilara replied. Not the drive itself, but what it represents, the idea that innovation doesn't have to stop, that perfection isn't a destination but a journey. Ambassador Blake joined them, looking both exhausted and exhilarated. The Grand Overseer has made it official. Humanity has been granted full membership status in the hegemony, no longer a protectorate, but an equal partner. And the technology restrictions, Valentina asked. Lifted entirely, Caroline confirmed. In fact, the Overseer has proposed a complete restructuring of how technological development is managed throughout the galaxy. He's calling it the Renaissance Initiative, a program to encourage cooperative innovation across all species. Ilara looked out at the stars visible through Nexus Station's massive viewport. For millennia, those stars had been reached through methods dictated by the ancient races, pathways defined and limited by established wisdom. Now, new paths were opening, not just for humanity, but for all the peoples of the galaxy. A quantum leap in more ways than one. To new horizons, she said softly, raising her glass in a toast, and to the endless possibilities that come from seeing the universe through different eyes. Across the station, in his private meditation chamber, Grand Overseer Selthereth contemplated the ancient warning of the progenitors that he had only partially shared. Beware the certainty that comes with age. The greatest threat to wisdom is the belief that it is complete. When you encounter those who see patterns where you see only chaos, listen carefully, for they may be the teachers you have been waiting for. For the first time in thousands of years, the stars themselves seem full of new possibilities.